All right. So good morning, Ian, and thank you so much for taking your time and accepting for this interview. And
My pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll start with your brief life story. We know, I see that you have done double degree, one in economics, one in marketing.
In marketing corporate communications, yeah,
Correct.
that's right.
If you could explain your education, where you grew up.
My education, where I grew up. Okay, so I was originally a Londoner. I was born in London, central London, and I moved to Cambridge when I was young, and I was educated in the UK. So and I finished. Well, I finished up working for a publishing house called Cambridge University Press, educational publishing business. And I that's when I finished up doing marketing and corporate communications, as one of my numbers of qualifications, which I haven't got them all on LinkedIn. So I then went from Cambridge University Press on to I was on a senior management course, so it shaping me to lead publishing and print companies around the world. Well, lead companies. So, but I had aspirations to do other things, and I finished up joining a big consulting civil engineering company, which is now called Mark McDonald, and at that point it was a company called Sir MacDonald and Partners, and with them I started to travel the world around all our international offices. Then I went into the I wanted to be in the advertising industry and be involved in, the process of communicating to the clients and customers. So I moved. I was engaged to join a big international advertising agency, and because I could then speak some Arabic, because of the time I'd spent in the Middle East, they sent me to Bahrain, and that in turn took me to my first family office. As I said before we were recording, I've worked for 5 family offices around the world, being involved in the marketing, the business development process, and that has indeed led me on to other areas of my activity. In the middle of all of this traveling and things, I spent 7 years in the City of London, being involved in the investor relations. I was working for a major stockbroker, or then another stockbroker in a bank, where I helped them to go through the process of understanding their clients, because it was a time when there was a liberalisation of the financial services sector in the UK, and suddenly financial businesses, banks, stockbrokers were able to market, and therefore they needed to understand their customers. So and when once you start to understand your customer, you also have to understand the customer experience as well, and make sure that you provide knowledge, expertise, comfort, support, and all those things. It's not just the acquisition period, buying into the service. It's also the going forward and the after sales service. Anyway, so I did that for a number of years, and I also worked for BP Oil, handling their internal communications on a change management project for them. And then back overseas, I've done so many different things in different sectors, but it's all marketing, communication. It happens along the way. Early on in my career, I also took a degree in economics at Warwick University, which gave me a sound business understanding, not just marketing, but actually understanding some of the numbers. And that in turn has led me to run projects for 5 family offices across the world, and everything from gaming to I don't know, seed production. It's very, very diverse, very, very diverse. So I talk about having a toolbox that I carry with me. The business is a business. I may not know a lot of I may not be an expert in that business, but I'm pretty knowledgeable about the client and the marketing process and the engagement with customers.
Understood. So if I may,
Okay.
You worked for both corporate companies and family offices.
Yeah, so I've worked for I worked for a long time for family offices, interspersed with working on other projects, and I've been a consultant running my own business and now
Okay.
my company for over 20 years. So I notionally came back to the UK to run my company in 2001, which was part of the dot-com boom. You're
Yeah.
probably not old enough to remember that, but
Yeah.
the time when suddenly technology took over the world. And I worked with a lot of early adopters, so companies either providing services or online retailers, and always the same process, helping those companies to grow their business, manage their clients and their customer base,
Right.
to maximize the quality of the journey. So I did that. So I've done that all for the last 20 odd years. In between, because I'd worked for family offices and I'd worked in the City of London, a number of the tech companies that I was working with said, Ian, we need some more money. Every company needs money. So I finished up helping people to identify money and investment, and which is what is a piece of my world now. That's what I'm very busy on. But I also do business turnaround and recovery. So yeah, again, going into companies that are distressed for whatever reason, and then bringing them back so that they don't finish up closing and all the IP's lost, and it's not a great situation. So I have a track record of too many years helping businesses who are in a bit of a pickle. And that, yeah, again, that's a lot in the tech space. So, young tech companies, they grow fast. They're usually underfinanced. They're usually they don't have the level of rounded expertise because they're technical people, that maybe they don't know enough about marketing. So these are areas that I can add some value, and I have my own community of specialists, B2B business specialists, who we bring in. So we put together project teams to help our clients to succeed. That's what we do. People say to me, you do lots of things. So, well, I actually only do two things. I help businesses grow, and we help people to find money. That's what I do, as a sort of a core proposition.
Yeah, so I think you kind of touched upon a few questions I was about to ask, but let's start with one. I have a bunch of questions. One, what difference do you see between corporate world and family office from an operating model standpoint?
Okay, well, a family office, everybody reports into people who have their own vision of the world.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and there is a misconception that family offices invest in things and they'll take risks. Seldom do they take risks.
Okay.
What they're doing, a family office is about increasing the wealth of the family. Yeah. Right. And in a secure process. So they may make investments which don't work as well as anticipated. But they are generally risk averse. In my experience, they're risk adverse. The corporate environment is different. You know, the people who are running the business, it may not be their business. They've got shareholders, the stakeholders of the bank and who they report to, or the investment committees that they report to, and the dynamics are slightly different. With a family office, you know, the people running the family office decide what they're going to do. They understand clearly it's their vision. It's not a corporate vision, it's their vision. Yeah. So I've worked with family offices who've invested in shopping malls, for instance, you know, or they have a large retail experience. There's a family office I work with in America. You know, they have, you know, 1 million square feet of prestige office space as part of it, and billions of dollars, but they're using that to then enter technology sector, for instance, and to invest in low risk, high good return, nice secure finance. So that's really the difference between a corporate environment and a family office. Family office, you're usually only reporting to 1 or 2 people. When you're working in a corporate environment, you've got a whole lot chain of decision makers before they get, you know, you get to the man who actually runs the business, and then it's usually run by committee, you know, by the board.
I know. And is it fair to say, if in a family office, if we are close to the decision maker, it is easier to get things done than in a corporate setting?
Yes, if the visionary in the business, it's what they want to do, for sure, because they go, yeah, Ian, this is a great idea, or I want to do this. I understand the returns. It's good for the business, good for the family, good for the business. Yes, please, go ahead and do that. And you know exactly where you stand. When you're dealing with a corporate environment, and certainly a large corporate environment, you've got so many groups of potential stakeholders, if only that it reflects on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Understood. And you mentioned about turning around the companies which are struggling.
Yeah.
And you would have done for not for one, but for multiple companies.
For multiple goals.
What are the common pitfalls that you saw when these companies struggle?
Usually what I mean, businesses are brought to me via a referral network of banks, finance. It's usually finance related. So they've got themselves into problems, often not by fault of their own. So, you know, certainly in the growing businesses, they can often fall over. They can often get themselves into problems because they're too successful. You know, that they don't have enough finance to finance the growth that they may be experiencing. Okay. Yeah. So that is often the case when I'm working with tech companies. It can also be a change in market conditions, competition. I mean, there's numerous variables, but it's actually understanding those and how that impacts that business. Yeah, and then I talk about co-piloting or piloting a business through this process. So I sit with the people who understand the business; it's theirs. But you know, I'm the man in the dark suit who's slightly detached, who can make tough decisions on their behalf.
Understood. Is this where normally you go and sit in the board as NED? And then
no, that's another part of my world. So I don't necessarily. Sometimes I move on and become a NED, or just take on an advisory role, which is without the same level of responsibility. I don't need to be that actively involved, but these are projects, so I'll go and take over that project. It's normally for classic SME business. I don't do turnaround in very large corporates because that's the world of the auditors, the
That's for big four and
PwC's,
correct.
KPMGs of this
True,
world. So
true, true.
I operate in the smallest in the SME space.
Understood, understood. How long these projects normally take, Ian? Like how long do you normally take to turn around?
Okay, so if it depends on the team of people involved, but I mean I can be in and out of a business in 3 months. So it's just go in, build out a roadmap, provide the required hands-on support, and it's like a battle. It's like all business. It's a battle. You have to plan it. So because what people get when I get involved is I've done it before. I've got several roadmaps out there.
Understood.
So what I can do is I can meet people, meet a business. I mean, a classic example was last year. I was working with a technology company, and I was brought in by a finance house who'd been asked to raise some money or to arrange some money, but when they opened the hood, it wasn't as great as it could have been. So that was at 5. I was rung up at 5:30 in the evening. At 7, and appraised at 7:30. I had a stakeholder meeting.
Okay.
And that was on the Wednesday. On the Friday, I was engaged, and then we started a process. And we had 3 meetings a day,
Right.
and we did 7 days a week. It's war. You know where you're going. You know what's got to be done, and just we got to do it. It's a bit action manish.
Understood. And we understand your journey also, how you ended up this whole funding and all that. And I read
completely by accident. As I said, I never set out to be in the finance space.
Okay.
And I still tell clients, don't talk to me about finance and accountancy. It's not really what I do. But I got into this because in 2000, 2001, as I mentioned, I had clients who were running out of money.
Right.
Young tech companies, and they would go, please, can you help? Please, Ian, rich people. As I said, rich people. You've worked in the city. Can you help us? Okay. So that's how I started. Completely. It was never on my roadmap of my career to get involved in this piece of area of business, and I continued to do that for the next 17 years, and I never did. I did it way below the horizon. It was something I did in the background to help clients because talk about MX positions. It's about the customer. It's about the customer journey, and it's about adding value. There are trillions of people who say they can raise money. There's trillions of people who can do various pieces of business. But what we do is to help people. The idea is that it's not the road ahead, it's the road you leave behind. It's making sure that the client, the customer, has a strong affiliation. So you help them, and it's the added value. So when we're working with clients to do fundraising or to do something, we normally are able to connect people to add additional value, so people have a good experience, and they're happy to recommend us, and that's how we get our business. And if you look on my LinkedIn profile, you'll see people say relatively nice things about me and about what we do. So that's the process. But I never got involved in this, sorry, carry on.
No, sure. And your recent post was talking about grants, right? And how does that work? Because funding is funding, grants is normally not
completely
paid
different. Up until a few weeks ago, we didn't get involved in grants at all. There a long time, 20 odd years ago, I did some work in the UK for a regional development board, and I knew a little bit about grants, but it's highly complex. It's it's a very specific level of expertise, and we've recently had someone join our organization, Vic Mystery, who is a grant specialist. So he's worked with there's a grant system in Europe called Horizon 2020, which is all about technology. Every country, every region of every country has a grant process, has grant support for business. You can go to London, and the mayor's office has a grant for early stage businesses within their boroughs. So we don't know enough about that, just a tacit touch point. But now we've got someone within the team who has the expertise. He's been doing it not quite all his life, but a heck of a long time. And he can help he can help our clients to shape their submission. Grants is a very, very, very competitive space.
Yes.
Very competitive space.
Yes.
No matter where you are in the world, there's lots of bowls hanging out going, please, can I have some money?
Yes.
So it's very competitive and very complex. You have to meet very complex criteria.
Yes.
So we never thought it was ever something that we couldn't enter into. But now with our new team member, we're able to offer that, which is why we're able to. We talked about it on LinkedIn.
So basically you are providing consulting for the grant seekers, not the grant givers.
Not for the grant givers, for the grant seekers. The same as our Hump funding proposition is. It's for clients who are looking for money. Okay. So this is looking for money for grants rather than looking for money from equity or debt related finance.
And normally these are governments or NGOs or that kind of fund.
Well, it's usually most grants are government related one way or another, whether they're government or whether they're regional councils or wherever they are. I'm sure in India they have grants. Well, I know they have grants that are state shaped for the state.
Yep.
And there are initiatives to develop a particular industry or profession in a space. I mean, if you look at what's happened in Bangalore, there was a government decision and then a state decision to build Bangalore as the technology center for India, and that is what has happened, and this is
Yeah. And having seen this world, funding, granting, working with family houses who are mostly a lot of this one is into investing. Where do you see this whole because there's a heavy competition even in funding. In fact, a lot of fund houses are looking for right investment opportunities, while there are a lot of innovative ideas unable to reach them.
There is never ever a shortage of opportunity. There is never ever a shortage of exciting projects. It's one of the biggest challenges with people to become clients. Those young companies, they all think they've created the best widget in the world, and they need help. Some of them think they know how to do it already themselves, but often they create it in the wrong way, because what happens is they're technological specialists, and they create something, and then they come to me and they say, Ian, we need $2 million to roll it in. I go, well, okay, so that's really interesting. Nice widget, interesting project, platform, whatever the solution is. Who's going to buy this? Well, we've made it. People are going to buy this. The market's huge, and you go, no. What is the defined market? Who are these people? Who are these customers that are going to buy your product? And because they come from a technology background, they tend not to have a marketing, customer focused view of the world. You know, and the world of price points and customer satisfaction. All they know is they've made this thing and it's going to be wonderful and everybody's going to go and buy it. This is not a very compelling proposition for an investor. So that's one of the things we do.
Yeah, that actually brings us to the next question. Lot of innovative products, lot of new ideas across the world, around the world. If you put business acumen and technology next to each other, what is the main thing that a founding team should have? Is it business acumen or technology proficiency? Which one should come?
I personally, I think they should have a clear vision of the market, of what they're trying to do. They need to, any new company, if they want to make something, provide a service, is identify a need in the market. First job. After that, you can go through the business structure. And to be honest, there are so many clever people in the world providing outsourced services that you can have virtually anything once you've got the vision and you understand where the market need is, and you understand the dynamics and the costings, then you can go and reverse engineer it into the widget.
Understood. And where do you see this whole, because you seem to be operating in the same model that we do, Ian, where you build a team on the fly for a specific problem, execute that project, hand it over, right? It's like build, operate, and transfer kind of, and then move on to the next, and then move on to the next. And technology plays a huge role in this, right? Who would have thought that people can work from home for years together, right? I mean, this many number of people. Yes, there were few people. Yeah, yes, there were few people who were doing that remote working, but this has become a norm now, right? Because technology enables us to do so. What is your view of where we are headed in terms of work, which we call future of work, right? If you could throw some light onto your perspectives.
Well, I mean, I talk about this, me living through an industrial revolution. You know, in the 40 years I've been in business, you know, the transformation is astonishing, and certainly the impact of COVID, the COVID process, and now people working remotely naturally. You know, here we are having a conversation across the world. Last night, I was on a call between Guadalajara in Mexico, Austria, Spain, and the UK. I mean, the world is now, there's virtual models everywhere. I would do, as you've seen on my CV, I also do business mentoring, and I was talking to a cybersecurity specialist who in the educational space in Canada a few weeks ago, and he hadn't been to the office for 4 years. Unbelievable. I mean, personally, I think a hybrid model is the most appropriate. That's my person, but that may be just because I'm in a later stage of my life, and I remember when people have meetings. But it's completely changed the way we operate. You know, the dynamics. Before I'd be on a plane. Before COVID, I was on a plane 80 times a year. And I did video conferencing. I mean, I've had video conferencing since 1993. 94, 95. And, you know, but I used to be like the man from space. I would want to, you know, I would want to be doing a video conference and give them links and do stuff. And the people go, well, can't we just meet? Well, now that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. And if you talk to Zuckerberg, he talks about metaverse, where you have people virtually sitting, though they are sitting somewhere else.
That's right.
You get
Well, and what's going to happen, you know, now we have a shift again to this sort of virtual environment where
Right.
you'll be working with people who seem to be with you. 20 years ago, that I became involved at the University of Coventry in England with a sort of a virtual environment where you had what do they call it? The character, you create a character that was you, and you would go to meetings and you would hang out together. But now this is the way of the world. You know, people are running conferences now and virtual exhibition spaces. You know, before you would spend $10,000 on putting a stand in a space, and you'd have to move loads of people. You don't do that anymore. These things, there's such a dynamic shift, dramatic shift in the way the world has changed, and COVID has really impacted that because it forced people to do it for a period of time, and now people actually understand the value because you're so much more productive. You know, you're not on a plane, you're not in a car. You know, you're working. You can squeeze that much more time in, which makes you that much more productive. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we may still go to office, we may still hit the plane, but out of choice, not out of compulsion.
And it's not as often. That's
Yeah.
different. You know, most people certainly in the UK, they're only in the office 2 days a week.
Yeah.
2-3 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, and Friday they work from home. Some people never go in. Some people have group meetings, but as you say, they're empowered to manage it the way they want to, and there's huge benefits to business as well, because before you would have an office block full of people. Now you can jettison the office block, and you only need 1 or 2 floors of that building.
Yeah.
And people are hot desking. There's, you know, it's very resource driven now.
Understood. Yeah. No, at the same time, there are some companies out there who are forcing people to come back to office, and they're
JP
even
Morgan, for
taking,
instance.
yeah, even Dell, my previous employer, Dell, who has even color coding red, orange, green, whatnot. And they may even ask people to leave the company if they don't meet the number of time they should check into the office.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the argument is that when people don't work collectively, properly collectively in a room, there's a loss of creativity.
Right.
The water dispenser, water hydrant moment doesn't happen. You know, sharing a cup of coffee and talking to people, you cannot replace that with this video conferencing. It just doesn't happen. And equally, you get a group of people in a room together, the dynamics are still different, which is why I prefer to have some kind of hybrid when you're working with a team, where you actually have a period of times when you come into the office. It's completely pointless giving people flexible working where, you know, John comes in on a Monday and he should be dealing with Fred, who comes in on a Thursday and a Friday. You know, there needs to be management of the business. This is all about running a cohesive company and structure. It's easier for large corporates to say you have to come in than try to manage the remote working processes, because it just puts more stress on the business. They've got to use more levels of technology, and they've got to make sure that people just aren't laying on the beach having a lovely time.
If we take few steps forward, yes, we do need FaceTime. We also need that remote flexibility. We foresee a vision where the work could be split into multiple small pieces, which had always been split, but within the same company. But if the team, that small group, can meet in a co-working space that is convenient to them because they can keep meeting. Because even if they come to office, it is still that group that they need to come together, not necessarily the rest of the world, right? So,
correct.
Yeah, it gives flexibility. It also gives that connectedness at the co-working location or office that is close to them. Do you think that could be a viable option in the long run?
I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, depending on the dynamics of a business, there are often global teams. So, in the financial services sector, you'll have a team in New York, one in Delhi, one in Dubai, one in Singapore. The sun's always on them, and these people work together, and they hand over projects as the progress of the project. So, I mean, I think that we're just going through a stage now of getting to understand how to do it as efficiently as possible. And there's numbers of gurus out there who are writing papers and books about the process of remote working.
True. And we have a philosophy, Ian. If you take even that fast forward for few more years, we have an overarching philosophy in our platform, and I want to run by you and see what you think about it, right? In the human evolution, Ian, right, in life 1.2, we were all hunter-gatherers. We woke up with the sun, hunted for food, ate food, saved ourselves from dangerous species, and slept for the day, rested for the day. Very simple, primitive life. In life 2.0, we moved near water bodies, wherever water bodies were available, and mostly relied on agriculture and maybe some small-scale industries, right? And in life 3.0, we moved wherever jobs existed, wherever opportunities were available, right? And you may be where you are living. I am here in Bangalore. Rahman is here in Bangalore. We are all here for our opportunities, right? And this is when cities thrived. And this is when industrial revolution came, followed by information technology revolution, and followed by internet revolution. What we believe is we are in the transition state now. We are at the end of life 3.0 and the beginning of life 4.0. And what we believe life 4.0 is where people will explore the world. You have been traveling 80 times a year before COVID. But what we believe is people will explore the world, not 80 times a year, but I can choose to live in Bangalore for a year and go to New York for a couple of years and go to Dubai for another year. And, it doesn't matter where I live in. It doesn't matter where I am connecting from, because technology enables us to do so.
Well, that's why you have digital nomads now.
Exactly.
I've got colleagues of mine who were in the city now living in Dubai. Is it making any difference to their world?
No,
really, not a lot. They they go on a plane once a month, go to London, have some meet. If they need to, they go and have meetings. Now the collaborative process is dramatically changed in 4 years. Where before I always had to get on a plane and go to Singapore or go to America or go to India, come to India to have meetings, to gather people, to gather knowledge. Now, as I did last night, there was a group of people. We gathered together for to discuss a particular business. They want me to be involved in the business. And as I said, they're based in Mexico, of all places. I'm a mentor to a company, a tech company, based on the East Coast of America. I do, we're reaching a point where the world is really borderless. Really, and that's the way things are going to be. I mean, it's for a certain group of people, of which I'm one. I'm sure you're one too, where we are we gather information, we share our experiences with people wherever they may be.
Yeah.
You know, what we're looking for is the best technology, the best experience, the best, and we'll gather that from wherever that is. And so, you know, the Mexican company was introduced to me by an Austrian company who was doing work with them, and they said you should talk to Ian. So then there's a call, and all of this is in a relatively short time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are countries who are offering now nomad visa. They have started a new visa variant called nomad visa. So I think it's a beginning of probably a new era. Yeah.
Where I live, there's hotels and they're offering nomad. You know, Malaga's started to offer a nomad service. You know, because it's sunny and it's like the California of Europe, and you know, come lay on the beach and in the evenings work on your machine, similar to Dubai. And you know, there is no boundaries. You can work anywhere now. Literally, well, not quite anywhere, but many places. And as technology improves, it will become any place. I mean, now you're able to get satellite links, domestic satellite links. So, you know, you can live up a mountain on your, you know, in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't matter. You know, the massive requirement for tech during as I said, it's an industrial revolution. It's just pushing and accelerating all the time. It's just trying to keep up. The challenge, I'm very fortunate. I've got people around me who understand all this tech. So, but you know, the tech is just moving so quickly, and it's so exciting for someone who's older. You know, and you know, I'm in my 60s. You know, to see what can be achieved now compared with, you know, when I was a young man, is just astonishing. I could tell you stories and we could fill up for hours. but it's really amazing. It's really, truly amazing. And it's great to be part of that journey, you know. It's great to be adding some value, you know, my expertise into those younger companies with their clients and making them successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And where do you see your business and given all these technology advancements going on?
I don't think our business will change too much.
Okay.
Because we're very involved in the tech space, I think we see a lot going on that many people don't see. There is an early stage, but I think AI is one of the things that's going to make significant differences. And nobody, you know, anybody who says that AI won't do, you know, it can't do what I do. I promise. I think in due time, it's going to take over so many areas. It already has, you know, it's making enormous impacts. And you know, it works with the client for its customers. You know, the way that the way that modern companies can interact with potential business, potential customers, and then keep the dialogue and the engagement going forward using many different channels simultaneously, where you would not, you know, before you'd have to have a typing pool. People were doing things. Now you've just got a box in the corner doing clever stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. As we bring this to an end, Ian,
Sure.
what's your views about the technology, about services businesses going in a new direction in the platform or a nomad way? If you could.
What do I think? I think people are becoming liberated.
Right.
The technology is liberating people, and it is only going to become greater as tech. You know, I haven't got a magic ball to look into the future, but I can tell you now, you come back in 20 years, it will just be so different. There is just so much going on, and as I said, it's very exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. I will bring recording to an end, but that doesn't stop our talking. 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah.